Hello and welcome back to A1-to-1 training. I'm going to take you on a tour again of what we've got here because things have moved on quite some way from the last time I did this. So that's kind of the main focus through this video. I do want to say at the start of this a huge thank you to everyone who's fed back on the last video about training is broken. It's something that I stand behind because I think having those honest conversations will lead us towards times that people get better outcomes. And unfortunately, those hard truths are a little bit difficult to hear for certain elements of the training sphere. And, you know, we often hear this said that training is as much the responsibility of the employers as the lecturers and the learners. However, when I have said training is broken, apparently, some people have viewed that as me saying that FE and lecturers are to blame for those problems when that is so far from reality. The concept I find embarrassing, and the fact people have presented that towards my words I find quite concerning, and I've rewatched that video several times now to think how that could be the view that's formed, and it doesn't ring true for me as the creator. But of course people can see stuff however they want to see it on the other side of the lens. Yeah, I'm not going to fall out with those people who have formed those views behind my words, but overwhelmingly the response around that has been really positive. Lecturers saying it's about time those things were discussed and aired, and seeing the real intent there, because training is all of us and we all are responsible for those successful outcomes when they happen, and we're equally responsible when they don't happen. And there are employers out there who don't do their part in a normal apprenticeship training model. They're using people as cheap labour, and I've not had any complaints from those places towards the words I used the other week, as you know, they're part of that. The main thrust of that content was to try and get some action around supporting more employers to be able to hire people and put them on training journeys, and to get some changes around the way courses are structured. Because fundamentally, the blame game doesn't help anything. So I was being very careful not to do that. I'm not looking to blame lecturers, FE, private, employers, learners. It's counterintuitive and doesn't help whatsoever. The blame game is a child's game. It's from the playground. It doesn't help whatsoever in getting things to adjust. I think we need these policy changes that will actually result in the stuff happening we need to happen. And that has to come from government and local authorities and those kind of places. And our industry bodies who represent us, they have a part to play in that as well. So if we're looking towards having more funding in classrooms, which we've had recently, that was an industry effort that was made by some incredible people working through TESP, DCA, the employer groups, all those things that go on, IFIT, to get that extra money going into classrooms. And we need that same collaborative approach now of the industry bodies and the industry of things getting government's ear to look towards things we can do with funding, be it, as I said in that last video, around levy funding or utilising private funding from different parts of industry to help with local communities, funding employers, micro businesses to hire people. But yeah, it was noted, the twist on my words that was presented by others, and I think there's undertones underneath that as conversations have followed out over the last couple of weeks that, you know, disagreements over other topics that are out there around outdoor consumer units, singles in meter cabinets, DC isolators, and, you know, my views around those things playing out to be right has upset people in other places, I think, and yeah, that's when the real intent is lost. It becomes more of an argument and want to be right, and ego definitely plays a part in that. And I'm not there for any of that. I just think that's a total waste of time. The topic is always the key point for me. And for those who need to hear it, especially around singles in meter cabinets, you know, this is going back to the 2014, I think, when we've had a local estate here to Driffield that I took on, a large CPS provider, and had all of those meter boxes changed alongside local building control and the site agent, the property developer, and said industry CPS were not very impressed at that time, but it was done. And I've gone on and on about this, bleating away for the years since, And I don't care who had a YouTube video on it first. You know, I think the view is that for it to be relevant, it has to have been on YouTube. That's like some sort of thing, when it isn't. All of these topics have been done to death in forums and other places we discuss this stuff since day dot, and before that as well. No one has ownership of a topic. And I will always give my views on stuff honestly and without fear, just because I want to try and level myself up. Talking about this stuff brings me greater understanding and knowledge, and the feedback that comes towards me through sharing these views. I don't know everything, and far from it. In fact, I get lots of things wrong more than I get right. And through sharing views like this, I learn, develop and become better. And also through the experiences I've gathered in my career, and going back to the outdoor consumer unit one, you know, I shared those opinions because I was worried for electricians who were going to work installing this stuff. And one of the brands I work with do lots of outdoor consumer units in their business. So it wasn't something that I was pressured to say the opposite on from those kind of sponsorship arrangements. And I'm always very, very careful with that, you know, my views will not be not said because of marketing and things like that. It's just not going to be a thing. And I did have concerns, and it proved to be correct. The industry of things have come out, and we've got this last method of last resort, and there's lots of articles coming out everywhere now to say that that's not something we should really be looking towards. And you know, when we look at horrible things that have happened to people with electric shock, you know, having an outdoor consumer unit with no RCD protection on it out in the rain, where people can likely be interacting with it, never seemed like a great thing to be doing for me when we are supposedly the guardians of safety. And I had those views along those lines. And the DC isolators thing, while we're on about it, I might as well clear that one up as well. That is from my good friend Neil Bridgman. He had a project. He'll be able to verify this because we had these conversations years ago. He had a project on a railway bridge in London for some solar PV maintenance, and he'd flagged the install because it didn't have any DC isolators. And I make him bang on right, it should have had them. And other contractors had come forward and said they weren't needed. And I think the fallout from that was Neil lost the testing inspection programmer works for that particular project. So I shared my views on that they should be there. You know, they're an essential part of PV system, and we've had all of these arguments that have spilled out since around fire safety and all the rest of it. I actually had a really in-depth and robust conversation with someone who's very active in the fire safety arena, who thought my musings on that was about them. It can't possibly be about two different sets of egos out there assuming it's about them. I always find that really weird. I think we all have an element of ego there, me included, where you see stuff and you think, is that about me? When you give yourself a bit of a reality check, you realise it can't possibly be. You know, it's the topic. And yeah, some harsh words were levelled back my way about, you know, what can someone know about training who's never delivered it? And yet the same people say how training is 80% of the time with the employer. Well, hello, I've been employing people since 2006 and trained a fair old few along that way. So I would say I have done more than my fair share in delivering training, and I'm sat right now in a training centre. I've put my own hard-earned money into building and establishing and getting set up to be something productive that helps. And there is lots of people who are doing very nicely from the status quo of training that doesn't work, either through marketing around it or operating training facilities that are quite happy with the rinse and repeat. They're loving this whole experienced worker tsunami that's been created out in industry at the minute. That's another topic which I find really interesting and will be saying more on. I already have had conversations around that already, but you know, the human side of that for experienced electricians who are out in industry. And you know, there's a couple of really good solar PV installers who I look up to massively, and they're going to fall the wrong side of this line just through their aged qualifications and not being able to access the level 3 courses for solar PV, battery storage, testing, inspection, without doing experienced worker assessment and MVQs. And you're just like, well, the whole industry's been monitoring and signing this person off now for 20, 30 years, clearly doing high quality work. They're going to get no value from that process. We had a problem in industry around the sort of 5-day, 5-week wonder domestic installer days, when Part P kind of drove that forward. Now it's all about CPD and Hackett report. Back then, this is what it was. That was the problem. Those people would very much benefit from some increased training around their theory and practical that they missed at their entry point to industry. But those who allowed them to enter should be funding that and helping those people to gain that. They brought them into this industry. They should be the ones dealing with it. It shouldn't be all of the electricians encompassed in this one thing. So we all have to pay for it in time and money to get that to happen. It's always, always been put back onto us, when I think it's long since overdue that the spotlight is twisted around a little bit and we have a look at further up the chain who's made some of these decisions, not at an individual level, but the organisations to lead us to where we are, because we have now formed the view that where we are is not good enough. That's why we've had the changes in the ES specification. We've got all this terminology of Electrician Plus and all these other bits and pieces that are going on. And I'm there for those truthful and honest conversations with anyone who wants to have them. And we have got conversations ongoing with MPs as well, where we're actually been proactive in getting some stuff discussed at a government level to try and have these things changed. And I have entered the training sector not to try and divert people away from FE or other private trainers towards us. Quite the opposite. This business has not been run in a profit-making capacity whatsoever. It is really to have skin in the game, a voice in those areas, and to be able to walk the walk and not have idiots on the internet sit and tell people you haven't got experience of training unless you're lecturing. We've got that experience now, and I'm going to be continuing to share that message from a truthful place, sat upon integrity, ethics and honesty, and I will not be dissuaded away from that course through a weight of someone else's subscribers and a heavily inflated ego. That is a message I want to get straight and clear as day. I have not spent the time and money that I have over the last 25 years establishing the businesses I've got and this training space here now to worry about things like that. It's of no fear or consequence to me. But that hatchet job was seen not just by myself, and it has not reflected back well towards those who carried it out. But let's go and have a look around this particular establishment. I do want to share a little bit about what we've been doing. So let's have a little look around and see some of the changes from the last run about this space we had. And I can show you some of the help I have had too, because some people also make some assumptions around time that I perhaps have with family and such due to the efforts that are seen on social media. And social media doesn't see the half of it. These are family businesses. And my family, from top to bottom, are actively involved with all of this. Let's roll the camera.
So we have got a roof to build here, and this is going to involve the whole team. You can see I'm starting off here. It was myself who put these roof trusses up into position. I had a bit of help from Matty and Nathan actually putting the sheets on the wall behind. So the wall behind is a timber stud work, and we fixed through the thick sheets of structural timber to try and give a bit of a solid base and foundation across that wall. And now we're going to secure our roof timbers. So they're all secured back into the studs in the wall through that OSB sheets as well. But we need to put the bracing across so they all stay linked into position all the way through, and they've got some rigidity and strength among themselves. And that is just so they're not going to warp and wobble about as people are clambering up them, and we're carrying the weight of tiles on them. So by the time you put a cumulative amount of roof tiles on there, there is a considerable amount of weight before people start clambering across it, or we even think of fitting solar panels. And we're just popping a few more screws through into those back studs, so drilling through the timbers into the studs behind to make sure we've got a nice solid fixing back there. And once we've got to that stage, we can start to look towards putting some of the roof covering on, so the felt or membrane, whatever we're going to call it in the modern world, and then the battens and tiles above. And I'm going to utilise Matty and Nathan and some star guests that you will get to see in a few moments' time as well, who are helping me with this one. So it is very much a team effort. This is stuff you don't see often with it's just me sharing content because it's me with the camera. But there are lots and lots of people who have helped with this from the start, and Matty and Nathan are two of those in more ways than can ever be shared on a little video clip here. And they're certainly not roofers, far from it, but they will try and turn their hand to anything when given enough encouragement by myself. And we need to make sure we get our tile spacing right for these. So we're using a concrete tile on this roof. So you need to make sure you get your spacings so they're overlapping by the correct amount. And then when you come to fit your hooks, you're not going to end up with some weird goings on. These are the star guests. So this is Isabel and Jack, my other two children. And they wanted to come and help at Dad's school. Jack primarily because he quite fancied a bit of extra pocket money. And Isabel just because she is down for that. She loves helping out here, and she's been a big motivating factor behind lots of the stuff that has happened since we've moved in. And she's really interested in what Dad's school is. And she wanted to come and get stuck in with the roof work. And you can see she's an active part of the construction team. And Jack is busy working his way up the roof. And he subsequently decided that all the moaning that me, Matthew and Nathan do about working on roofs is ill-founded because it's rather fun and quite easy. He was in his absolute element with this. And thank goodness he was there, because I am not as agile and nimble as I once was, and I very much lean on Matty and Nathan in the day job with that side of things. So having Jack, who was more than willing to jump up there, was great. And ignore the lack of health and safety on this one. The scaffolding is not up as yet, but we are a trained and equipped, well-established, highly oiled machine who were never going to be doing this in a way that led to any danger. Isabel was supervising to ensure of that. You can see Jack shuffling along there. We were trying to do it as safely as possible to keep him away from the edge. And at this stage, Isabel had the idea of, well, why don't you just finish off that corner you're in before you move across, which made such a lot of sense. So we started doing that, get this side finished, and then work our way back across on the diagonal to finish things. And Isabel is there with her elf. Those of you who are at Christmas time, you'll be familiar with those elves. And that has now come out to perform tricks every day, all the way up to Christmas. The joy. But yeah, we're getting there now, so we've just got the last few to put in on this top corner. We're leaving the top row empty because we're going to put a guardrail across there as well once the scaffolding system's up. So we're going to have the handrails down the side, the platform at the bottom, and a little bit of a guardrail across the top because we're conscious of people banging their heads on where you could see Jack just sat then. This roof wasn't supposed to extend that far across, but we brought it that far just to get a few more other bits and pieces in. Isabel then wanted to jump upstairs and put the Christmas tree up. So we've got a little Christmas tree that we're putting up in the reception area. And you can see it's bringing lots of giggles. I think that particular giggle was because Jack did a really big sneeze. And Isabel was impressed that we had that recorded on camera. And that's just reminded me I need to clip that up for her, because I think she wanted to show everyone how loud her brother can sneeze. You can see they were getting a tree wired together. Amazing the lights worked. They never work after it's been away in the loft all year round. But yeah, straight on. And we can just get this sorted out and set up. So we've got some bit of Christmas in the training centre. And yeah, again, it's the little touches sometimes that can make things. And Isabel is certainly giving her instructions out whilst enjoying some crisps. She's also nabbed herself a Proteus pencil, because that's the kind of thing she does. She likes to squirrel away the stationery. I don't know what that thing is I'm pushing around. I just thought I'd look busy, so Isabel had stopped giving me jobs to do around the Christmas tree decorating. It didn't work. She called me back and had to get on with it. But yeah, that thing makes some noise, whatever it is. And then once we've got to that stage, you can see we can put the little decorations on. So we've got some to match the wall colour. That's been made by people with a wiser design and taste than myself. And Izzy again putting that elf into shot to watch the decorations going on. And yeah, once we've got those on, that's us finished. And pocket money earned for Jack, which he was most pleased about. Isabel also was on the payroll. However, he wasn't that fussed about that, to be fair. She just wanted to come and get stuck in. And you can see we've got the little ECN award in the background there. And as much as these two don't feature in any of the stuff I often share for reasons that they're kids, I wanted to feature them on this video because awards like that would not be achievable without their help along the way as well. At the last place we were at, and at this one, and the rest of the family alongside them. And all of those brands people of industry and other electricians who've helped along the way, even our customers, are providing the battery storage system for us to use here. That one is for all of you.
So upstairs hasn't changed a great deal, I don't think. We have got some more branding up and other bits and pieces. So we've got an event on in a couple of days. So we're just setting out with some of the brochures and whatnot. We've got our drinks facilities been set up. We've got some emergency lights to change in as well because we've had a few fail. We've got the TIS branding up in here. TIS have been huge supporters of what we've been doing with A1-to-1 from the start, along with others. This is where I've just been recording, and this is sort of what is a more relaxed sit-down area, so people can come and have a conversation or a meeting, run a little class in here if they want, and yeah, that's kind of what that one is. The recording studio for the podcast is the same as always, so I won't bore you with another look around that, but if anyone's coming in to have a conversation, they can do that. The exam room is over this side, and this is the classroom. Again, we've just got a few more posters up really. So the TIS stuff, safe isolation stuff, some of our own logos and banners. Huge, great big 85-inch TV at the other end of that room. But again, we're getting all set up for our visitors later this week. My office, for those who may be interested, it's not that exciting, but at the minute I've moved into here. So it's the smallest room in the building. That's my job role at a desk. I'm trying to minimise, so I don't need an especially big space for that. We've got our Christmas tree up. So again, you may have seen already in the segment before this, I had my helpers in and they did that. So there we go. We've also got our ECN award. So this was for Training Provider / Initiative of the Year. I'm very proud of that one. We come runner-up 2 years in a row, and it's voted for by lots of different people of industry. The NIC and CEF were in the same category, along with some other awesome training providers. So to come out first in that after 3 years of trying was really, really very humbling, and I'm not thoroughly sure we deserve it, to be truthful, but you know, we do some good bits and pieces with the college drops and other stuff, and I accept it on behalf of all those people who are involved with those things. It is not just me, and never has been or ever will be. Down here, we have just had a bit of a tear out last night because I've been fitting one of these in here, so this is all just waiting to go in the bin. This is the roof that my helpers aided me with, and this will fit 6 panels on, either 2 rows of 3 in portrait or 3 rows of 2 in landscape. I think I got that right. So they fit on there, and this is going to all be scaffolded. We only just finished the roof the other day, but we're going to have scaffolding, rails at the side, little deck at the bottom. I've got that good to go there. We're going to have a ground mount system in here, so Van der Valk, Phil Jolly has offered a kit from them, which we're going to gratefully accept, and we can get that set up here, and we've got Liberato del Greco's ground mounts kit over there. So this is a bit of space for setting out ground mounts, and we've got our dual aspect roof here where we're going to have slates, concrete tiles, one side or the other. This is where it's going to be changing quite a lot, and that's just to give a basic experience of ripping tiles, removing tiles at a safe working spot before going on to fit a system over here. It's kind of roughly how we're setting it out. Storage of kit and stuff is here, so college drop bits that are going out, and also panels and things we're going to be churning through this side. Over here is where we've got all of the inverter aspects, so we've got our little example of a fiberglass box that you can utilise, and then all the different inverter systems, and I've just made a right mess in here, so I'm showing you this watts and all, fitting the Sarge Energy kit, so that is latest and greatest bit of kit out in industry. We've got an example of that here. So we're able to run through that. We've also got all of the 3-phase and sub-mains examples that we can set out in how you drop down right from a 400 amp panel board, a 250 amp panel board in that case, 400 amp bus bar, all the way down to a single socket outlet. So we've got those great examples there. And we've got all of our other inverters over here, and we've been messing about with the Sonnen kit the other day. We've had the Give Energy kit on and off the wall a couple of times, and we've been looking at some of these older inverters as well actually, and how those can need to be maintained and stuff you can and can't do with them. Our Solex kit, the Polar kit, and the Weco kit over in Weco World. We've got the SAJ kit as well. Practicing on consumer units and distribution boards. It's laid out in here. We're going to build some more bays on this side as well. So it's like a slow journey with this. I think I mentioned on the last video how that roof was the priority. The next step now is to get this wall all the way across here, and we're going to have bays on this side of that wall. So what you traditionally find in a college environment, we're going to have 6 bays across there, and they're going to be duplicated on this side. Those two doorways are getting closed up, and we'll have the bays on there as well. So hoping to get 8 to 10 bays out of that. I don't want to, but if necessary, I will put a wall up across between these two sides as well. One of the reasons I don't want to is we've got the nice gas heater which blows heat around this whole space, and I can get away with one heater rather than needing a second one. And the other is just to keep it more open, and I think that makes a better use of the space. But if we need to try and squeeze a couple of extra bays in, we can do that there. To be honest, I think we're going to have the space over here, so we won't need to do that. That is kind of where we are at on the downstairs side of things. We've still got our main intake area here, and these panels were put on the wall to break up this wall. For those of you who ever fitted this stuff, you'll know it gets your eyes. So it was an effort at stopping that, didn't work. But we made the effort to do it. We're going to have our inverter in here, which is going to be functioning and working off the full roof of solar panels. There's 100 panels going up there, but that's a project for the spring. So that is where we are at down here. And yeah, it's getting there. My job now, because as I said, we have visitors coming in 2 days' time, is to get rid of all of this rubbish from the fit out of the SIG kit and the building of this roof, have a good old sweep up, make it tidy, get rid of all the pallets, and sort this lot out over here as well. So that's me for the next couple of hours. I think it's going to take me. Yeah, it's one of those where, whilst we're still getting set up with this, and we've been through our EAL assessment now, I don't know if I mentioned that, got through that one. We're running our courses from January, so we made the decision to just make sure we've got everything sorted in terms of the website and the portal. We've still not got that out of the testing phase yet. We found a few bugs in there that I wasn't happy with, so we've had to go back a little bit on that and retrace some steps. Until we're properly ready, I don't want to start running it. We're under no time pressure this side. We've had a test class through, which went really well. We've got our visitors coming in. I think there's 20 people, 15, 20 people due in Thursday, Friday this week. And we've got some other events alongside manufacturers and stuff as well, which is really exciting in this space. And then when we've got the paying customers coming through to receive their training, we want to be the very best. And we're not currently at that point as yet, as you can see. I need to get swept up. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you to my helpers as well, who none of this would be possible without. You know, when I collect awards and things, I never do so on my behalf. It is never Mark Allison. It is Apprentice 1-to-1, A1-to-1. And all of the brands, the manufacturers, the other electricians out there, the trainers, anyone who's offered a word of encouragement, sent in a bit of kit, any kind of help, providing stuff for college drops, I accept it on your behalf, because you are all absolute legends. And most of all, to my family, the people who work in the businesses we operate behind the camera that you will never see, the stuff that we do that is so far off social media, it's untrue. But to Matty and Nathan, who you will see on camera from time to time, absolute legends, and a pair of grafters in here alongside me as well, more times than not. And Laura and Lucy, who are working in the background of this space as well. The stuff that I could never do, the admin in terms of finance, looking after day-to-day operations, all of that stuff that is essential for a business. This is what they're doing every day, all day. And they're still getting the sweeping brushes out, the cleaning cloths, and running around here trying to keep costs down, so we can be as efficient and lean as possible to feed back into industry as best we can, helping other training providers, other employers, and other learners in other centres around the UK. And my little kids, Jack and Izzy. So they are absolute superstars too, coming in here. The carpet tiles upstairs, Isabel have actually stripped all of those on her own, the carpets going down in the summer. You know, not seen or known that, but she did it, and she's been in her office upstairs, coming up with ideas and wanting to be involved with Dad's school. And Jack, he always loves a bit of extra money in his pocket, does Jack? And the mere sniff of getting some of that for chucking some tiles on a roof. He now thinks Matthew and Nathan have the easiest job in the world, and he doesn't know what the hell they're moaning about. He was up for that as well, and he's been here pushing hoovers around, cleaning up, painting, doing all sorts. Since we moved in, this is a family venture. It's not at their expense. It's at their enjoyment. We love it. We love it. And we're here for the long term. And whilst efforts may have been made to knock us, dislodge us, try and make us appear bad in other people's eyes, that'll not put us off. It might have worked on other communities that sprung up in the past through social media when egos have tried to bat them away for their own benefit. Not work on this one. I'll see you on the next one.